Welcome to the League of Nerds comic book segment number 52. I'm John Cooney here to talk to you about comics released the 30th of January, 2013. Starting with my first five, meaning these are the first 5 books I intend to read this week, and I'll give you a little more depth on them. Beginning with at number 1, Invincible number 100. It's the 10th anniversary landmark, 100th issue spectacular, the death of everyone conclusion. It's all been building to this. Mark Grayson's entire life as a superhero, all he's learned, all he's endured, it's all been leading to this one moment. Will he become the hero he was meant to, or will he choose a different path? The aftermath of this extra-sized issue will shock you. Approaching issue number 100, series writer Robert Kirkman explained why he thought the series has been successful. Quote, "Everyone that works on this book is a comic book fan. I'd like to say that Invincible is everything that I've ever loved about superhero comics, but in one book. So it really is a superhero comic for people who have been reading superhero comics for a really, really long time. To the point where they're able to recognize the formula and they can predict what's going to happen because there's a cycle to the storytelling of superhero comics. We're a book that tries to play with those parameters to a certain extent, but we oftentimes break out of it, in hopefully exciting and fun ways. So I think that by playing with the conventions of superhero storytelling in a way that is almost tongue-in-cheek to a certain extent, a little like a parody, but it's not a parody story. It's very serious and interesting and compelling. I like to think that we become the superhero book for the jaded superhero fan." Now, specifically towards issue 100, Kirkman says, quote, "I will say that the death of everyone storyline that's going to carry us through issue 100 is going to be the craziest, most intense thing that's ever happened in the book yet. Fans should definitely be on the lookout for it." Close quote. At number 2 this week, we've got Teen Titans number 16, another Death of the Family tie-in. Our heroes learn a lesson they'll never forget as Arsenal takes control in Red Robin's absence. Mirroring the events of Red Hood and the Outlaws number 16, Jason Todd and Tim Drake must rely on each other to survive the Joker's attack. Plus, the return of Raven. I talked a bit last week about series writer Scott Lobdell's reaction to the impact that the Death of the Family storyline would have on his Red Hood and Teen Titans titles. Beyond Tim and Jason, he explained the fallout, saying, quote, "During Death of the Family, the teams cross over, but unfortunately they're crossing over in a way that doesn't provide the support to either Tim or Jason, who have their hands full in dealing with the Joker. The Teen Titans and the Outlaws do not meet the Joker at any point, but they certainly are up to their elbows in his handiwork." Close quote. Now, after Batgirl's appearance in Teen Titans number 15, he says, quote, "It's also worth noting that in the new 52, the Teen Titans, none of them have been heroes for very long, and they certainly haven't been a team long enough to feel they're in a situation they can go up against someone as legendary and horrific as the Joker. When Batgirl leaves, Roy Harper is going to set up and lead the team. If you've been reading Red Hood and the Outlaws, you know that if Roy is the person you have to look up to, you're in some pretty dire straits." Close quote. At number 3, we've got Superior Spider-Man number 2, the all-new Superior Spider-Man battles the all-new Sinister Six, plus Spider-Man and Mary Jane reunited. In the past, I've read some remarks from Dan Slott, but this time I went to series artist Ryan Stegman as he discussed fan reaction to the controversial new direction. Quote, "Personally, I love this reaction. It really fires me up to work on something that people care so passionately about. To know that good or bad, people are going to pick this up is thrilling. Most of the negative fan response I get is via my blog or DeviantArt or Twitter, and they're always hilariously backhanded. Nobody has attacked me for my art or anything, but they'll say something like, 'Oh, I would totally buy this for your art if I didn't hate the story.' I enjoy the creative ways that fans get their jabs in. But the truth is, any of the negativity that I've read is generally based on a lack of any real knowledge of what's going to happen. I'm confident that when people read this, they'll realize it's not at all what they're expecting. And that's my sales pitch on the book, really. If you think you know what's up, you don't. So give it a shot because it's awesome." Close quote. Number 4, we've got Aquaman number 16, Throne of Atlantis continuing from this month's Justice League number 16. Torn between Ocean Master and the League in this penultimate chapter of the Throne of Atlantis, Aquaman is pushed towards an impossible choice. The monstrous trench are back, and they're hungry. Series writer Jeff Johns explained his view of Ocean Master. Quote, "I want to look at Orm when he's not yet called Ocean Master. He kind of does something different. Even Aquaman says, my brother's not a supervillain, and he's not. He's a guy that's trying to do the best for his people. Orm doesn't hate Arthur. He doesn't really know why he chooses to live the life he lives. People feel sorry for him in a weird way. Orm is not a malicious being. He's an Atlantean, and he's armed with the Atlantean pride and culture, which is extremely different than ours. We'll see what that is, and he has a vastly bizarre perspective on the surface world, which is shared by all the Atlanteans. The storyline will hopefully explore the contrast between the world that Arthur lives in here and the world he was living in below the waters. We'll see why Arthur for a time behaved a certain way. We'll see why Atlantis would attack the surface world and have a certain hate and opinion on who we are up here. We're hoping to take the complexity of, I've said it before, what war is today. What sets wars off? What motivates war? It's not just Atlantis going, let's destroy them. There's got to be something specific there. The perception of us is a huge key part of that, close quote. Explaining the future that comes out of the crossover with Justice League, John says, quote, doing a Justice League story that focuses on Aquaman, we're going to make it the biggest and best story we possibly can. We're really delving into the character and what he means for the team, and what the team means for him. Also, how his presence on the team affects the team. The League should be tackling the biggest and most threatening things in the universe, in the world. One of those things is going to be Atlantis, a threat from our own planet, a threat from a world below the ocean waters. The team should be completely different if Aquaman is on the team. Without him, they function a completely different way. Every character is vital like that. This is just the first chapter as we go into the second year of the New 52. This is the first chapter in what will hopefully be the building blocks of a really big epic run of what Ivan, Joe, and I are trying to do on the book. Close quote. And at number 5, we've got Before Watchmen, Dollar Bill, number 1, one shot. This tells the story of the late lamented Bill Brady, athlete, actor, and masked member of the Minutemen as the corporate-sponsored Dollar Bill, who met a tragic end as told by Hollis Mason in the original Watchmen series, book within the book, Under the Hood. Writer Len Wein explains, quote, of all the Watchmen, he's the one with the least information given about him over the course of the series. The difference between Bill and the rest of the characters is that he kind of accepts his lot in life. He just copes, Wein says. He's one of those guys who just gets by. He does what he needs to do. And part of what makes him succeed initially is the criminals aren't that brave to begin with. They've seen Dollar Bill in movies kicking ass, and so for the first couple of minutes they're frozen. Close quote. Ultimately, Wein hopes to have redeemed the character by the end of his one-shot, saying that although the character's life is ultimately a tragic one, there's at least one bright spot for the guy. For one brief period in time, he finally gets the fame he craved in life as a hero. Quote, it's a tragedy, but some good came out of it. Close quote. Rounding out the top 10 this week, we've got number 6, Before Watchmen, Ozymandias number 5. In this penultimate issue, we see more build-up towards Ozymandias' nefarious plan that comes to fruition in the original Watchmen series. At number 7, we've got Talon number 4. Talon battles his past and future in Metropolis. Things are getting tense for Calvin Rose as he tries to escape Metropolis without losing the reason he left the Court of Owls in the first place. But standing in his way is one of the court's most lethal weapons. At number 8, we've got Batman the Dark Knight, number 16. Do you dare journey into the twisted world of the Mad Hatter? Batman has discovered a trail of bodies but no leads as he realizes that this is unlike any Mad Hatter case he's seen before. At number 9, we've got Avengers number 4, the death and resurrection of Major Titans, the secret origin of Hyperion, the legacy of the Garden unfolds in the Savage Land. And at number 10, we've got Hawkeye number 7, pushing the next story back by a month to make room for a timely story about Hawkeye and Kate Bishop dealing with the ramifications of a hurricane that hammers the East Coast. For the rest of this week from DC Comics, we've got Batman and Robin Annual number 1. Robin leads Batman on an unrelenting hunt across the globe for family secrets that promise to change them both forever. If you think you know Bruce Wayne, think again. We've got Batman Incorporated number 7 by Grant Morrison. The fight to reclaim Gotham City begins. Batman Inc. takes the offensive against Talia and Leviathan. It's Damian versus Heretic, and if Damian loses, the city dies. We've got The Flash number 16. The Flash takes Grodd into the Speed Force in a last-ditch effort to defeat the Mad Gorilla, and he loses. Plus the Rogues, the introduction of a major villain, and a look at the one and only date between Barry Allen and Iris West in the New 52. We got Fury, Firestorm, the Nuclear Men, number 16. Firestorm is Public Enemy number 1. Ronnie and Jason weren't exactly getting along before their superpowered alias became a fugitive, so this won't help matters at all. And to make things much worse, Firestorm has been targeted by Nowhere. And we've got Superman number 16. The Hell on Earth crossover event takes a shocking turn, guest starring the Justice League. The Man of Steel leads Wonder Woman, Batman, Cyborg, The Flash, and Superboy on the final assault on the Fortress of Solitude. Can Superman stop hell when Supergirl is standing in the way? From Marvel this week, we've got Journey into Mystery number 648. Ladylike? There's no ladylike Sif. Spoiling for a fight since the day she was born, Sif makes her own action. Exiled to a forgotten island, thinks he'd up when our heroine falls in with a group of brutal Asgardian savages. Whatever's a lady to do? Why, join in the millennia-old battle against monsters, of course. We've got Punisher Nightmare number 5, the final part of the 5-part 5-week Punisher event, still with the same solicit. A Special Forces soldier is injured and his family is killed in the midst of a mob execution in Central Park. But this isn't Frank Castle. This time it's a young soldier named Jake Neiman, but the familiar story puts Frank on the path of punishment. As Jake Neiman heals from his wounds, why is he growing strangely stronger? And who is the mysterious Johnny Nightmare? Bullets fly, anarchy reigns, allies become enemies, the Punisher becomes the punished, and no one is safe. We've also got Punisher Warzone number 4. The Punisher tries to break Cole out of jail. The Avengers stomp him. A lot. Got X-Men Legacy number 5, Legion versus the X-Men. 2 new villains begin plotting Legion's demise, and little does he know one of them is lurking within his own psyche, and the other is now hiding amongst the X-Men themselves. And we've got X-Treme X-Men number 9. The X-Treme X-Men find that they can't shake their new X-Force teammates. Will Dazzler be able to take back control of the team? Also, Howlett versus Hercules. From Boom Studios, we've got Deathmatch number 2. The battle royale continues as the world's greatest superheroes are forced to fight each other to the death in a mysterious, otherworldly prison. Who will be crowned the victor in this month's grudge match? More importantly, who will be the loser? And will the cabal of Sable, Meridian, Sol, Invictus, and the Manchurian be able to decipher the mysteries of the prison before one of them is selected to enter the arena? From IDW, we've got Doctor Who Prisoners of Time number 1 of 12, November 23rd, 1963, a day that changed the world forever. That day saw the broadcast debut of Doctor Who, which has become the longest-running science fiction series on television. Now, 50 years later, we pay tribute to one of the greatest pop culture heroes of all time, which tells an epic adventure featuring all 11 incarnations of the intrepid traveler through time and space known simply as the Doctor. From Image Comics, we've got Mara number 2 by Brian Wood. As superstar athlete Mara Prince's superpowers manifestation is caught on live TV, her life rapidly starts to spiral out of control. The media descends like vultures. Her handlers go into spin mode. The footage is seen around the world, and this young woman, who only hours ago was the darling of pop culture, is now being slammed and ridiculed for being a fraud and a liar. But the more she tries to fight back, the only thing she's doing is escalating the problem. Out in trades this week from DC, we've got Justice League Volume 1, Origin, now in trade paperback from comic superstar Jeff Johns and Jim Lee. In a universe where superheroes are strange and new, Batman has discovered a dark evil that requires him to unite the world's greatest heroes. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Aquaman, The Flash, and Cyborg unite for the first time to form the Justice League. Don't miss the thrill-a-minute collection of the first 6 issues of the best-selling comic. And from Marvel, we've got Avengers vs. X-Men Consequences trade paperback. One team wins, one team loses, but everybody pays. Spinning directly out of the stunning conclusion of AVX, find out what happens next. We can't tell you anything else without spoiling everything. Collecting AVX Consequences number 1 through 5. And we've got the Ultimate Comics Divided We Fall, United We Stand hardcover. A crisis in the United States forces the Ultimates into action, and Cap, Iron Man, and Thor finally reunite. Meanwhile, Kitty Pryde makes her stand, and as the X-Men fight for their lives in the Sentinel-controlled states, the war for mutant liberation begins. And with the nation under siege, Miles Morales, the new Spider-Man, decides to become a member of the Ultimates. And he'll do absolutely anything it takes to earn that right. The ultimate event of the year is here. Collecting Ultimate Comics X-Men 13 through 18, Ultimate Comics Ultimates 13 through 18, and Ultimate Comics Spider-Man 13 through 17. Okay, so that's a look at the not-so-large stack of books this week, as it's the 5th Wednesday with light production, particularly from Marvel, although they did release a lot of reprints this week, including All New X-Men 3 and 4, Amazing Spider-Man 698, Avengers number 2, and Thunderbolts number 1 and 2. So if you missed those books the first time around, you can try again. Still several other books out this week too, so be sure to check with your local comic book shop and see if there's something else that you're interested in that I might have overlooked. And you can always let me know if I'm missing anything on my Facebook blog at he'sgotissues.com, where I post what I'm reading as I read it. And of course, you can find me at theleagueofnerds.com along with Brandon and David and Everything Nerdy. And remember that both He's Got Issues and the League of Nerds are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. So until next week, I'm John Cooney, and I've got issues.